meeting that, I didn't notice he's seeing a big flag. 8.25, so you notice the entry first, and by posting. And this is, I did the following. The county said notice that most of the city such number no public access to information for staff.
Councilperson Dina Gunn. Councilperson Arlen Filas.
Present.
Councilperson Brian Livesey has an excused absence this evening. Councilperson Stephen Russell. Councilperson Suzanne Reynolds. Councilperson Charles Ross. Mayor, you have a quorum.
This isn't taking it to my pocket, right? Ordinance 2554.
Excuse me, please state your name and address.
I reviewed it. It's a $4.8 million wish list. So there are several areas that raise concern. For example, why is it $70,000 fire chief? What kind of vehicle is this? It's a special equipment justify such a high price tag. At the same time, we see money to pay for the police and fire, but absolutely nothing for first aid. Earlier this year, our first aid squad went public saying they needed to get flares and so and secure them from the county. How is it acceptable that we are leaving first aid without resources by including high-tech items elsewhere? The playground projects also need clarification. 3 are listed, including your park. Since we did not receive a state grant, what happens if the county grant is partially funded? Will the borough still move forward? And if so, at whose expense? Presidents deserve to know before it's committing to projects that will fail. The sanitation costs are perhaps the most troubling. We have $1 million for garbage trucks, $380,000 for garbage cans. What happens if one of the trucks breaks down and only 2 remain? Have the projected increases to insurance premiums been counted for? If DPW is expected to handle garbage collection, will they be consulted? They work higher for sanitation work and require specialized training, like air brake certification, which adds in the work costs. Most importantly, how much will we be starting and maintaining? How much will it cost us to start and maintain our own garbage company? Ultimately, costing residents year after year. Before approving these expenses, it's transparent about who will bear the financial burden and operational burden. Yeah, that's it. I need 6 seconds. Okay, thanks. Okay, resolution 25 008, authorizing the project engineer. I'm not gonna read all, it's a waste of my time. This is time and materials. For contract.
What was done at the end of the year?
Okay. And let's see, under new business, resolution 25-0810. What is the total cost of the borough for audit, cleaning, and warranty services, including consultant and third-party fees, since these services are recurring and often lead to long-term financial commitments? Taxpayers deserve transparency in both the immediate and cumulative impact on the municipal budget.
Thank you. So I think it would be helpful for the public to talk about what MCIO is and what it's not. So I don't want to steal the council process letter since he's the finance chair. Do you want to look at it?
All right, so, trying to get together one, this was. What was that every other? Also, the first one, is 2 charts. Why structures now what we need, it's 30 years. Okay, 170 for 2 charts, not 120. Right? Fire truck, 300,000, we need that. Truck account 32 years old, 30 years old. There are things in this town we do need, that we're supposed to, it's not all, no. We need to put in. Better to overshoot, have to extra, than undershoot that one.
And what about the parks? We took funds that no one was able to get in.
Whenever the word touch, the parks don't get approved of grants and stuff. You got it.
So it's gonna come out of the 4.8 million. So that 4.8 million is gonna expand for us.
No.
Oh,
Okay, we don't use this.
if you don't use it, it'll be in the bank, but you will actually use it.
What if already, 2 million? 2 million, we count, we don't pay, it's a lot of credit.
It's similar to line credit, and it's basically, it's the Oklahoma County Improvement Authority, which allows the municipalities and certain nonprofits to take advantage of the county's AAA fund rating and obtain capital equipment that's necessary at a very low interest rate. So it's really the fiscally responsible thing to do, and as Councilman Wong said, it's similar to the line of credit. So if you don't use it, say something was expected to cost 60,000, we get estimates for things. And if it costs 40,000, that's when we pay it, it's the 40,000. And also, some items remain exploratory, but we need to have them as a base.
Okay. Statement still in exists. This is my neighbors and put them, I need to speed up, I'm sorry. So,
Anyone else? For agenda item?
Yes, good evening, Mayor, Council. My name is Charlie Bradwell from New Brunswick. I want to make sure this is the appropriate time to speak on 5/08/10.
There will be a designated public hearing for that. And so you can speak now, or you can hold your comments till after our professionals go their presentation, and then I'll wait for the public to take part as well.
Okay, well, I'll just make a brief remark for now. I'm going to speak later. We have to station for closing the potential sale of the water and sewer system. But I do have some limited experience with this firm, Remington and Burdick. In my county, Middlesex, it's called rewording. It's redrawing the boundaries between the boards and towns and based elections, and it did not go well. They missed the statutory deadlines to on that, and they also gave bad advice to the county as far as keeping those maps a secret. And so I was very displeased by that personally. And so personally, as far as I'm concerned, it's one more reason not to sell the water system. And I'll be back.
Anyone else? The floor for agenda item?
Hi, I'm Abby Berg. I just have a couple questions for 25-14. My first question is, when you submit the list to the county or the state, Is that the set? Is it set in stone? Is it something that can be changed? Is it like, I know it's different because it's a line of credit than let's say a grant, you have to change things with, but like, are you allowed to just switch it up or does it have to stick to these things? That was my first question.
Basically, you have to stick to that the same, you can swap things out, but it has to have the same useful life.
Like, so you could change vendors, but not,
Well, nothing's been vendor yet.
no, it's in theory, like, so explain that. What would you like to swap?
So let's say, DPW put in for a Bobcat. And they realized that instead of a Bobcat, they need a plow. They can potentially stop that.
And is it like an easy process or is it just like, you could just swap it if you want to, like, do you need to get approval for that swap?
So, it's happy to answer all the questions at the end of your comments.
Right. Okay. Right, okay, my other question. Was if this line of credit and you want to possibly switch out the garbage companies and do our own thing, it's great, much about it. Does this line of credit also put in for like administrative costs such as, you know, we're gonna have garbage and training, maybe different insurance, mechanic. There's gonna be like back costs for that, is that covered under here, or are we as borough absorb those costs? Because there's always like personnel costs that are that. The second, third question. You know what, that's it pretty much.
So this is only for capital, so there's still.
So how, so what is the cost in theory? This garbage, so what's our personnel?
It's part of the consideration when we're taking bids for, perhaps other companies, or sticking with the company we have now, or whether or not it'll be more cost effective for us to take it in-house. And that consideration will include, as you said, we will need a mechanic, there'll be a few other employment situations and drivers. And what's-
My only question is this, right? If you feel like it might be better, right, putting a placeholder, you didn't check to see how much this cost would possibly be. It's like we're making a choice. Like, I feel like we did this already, right? Like, this seems very vaguely similar to what our attorney said, don't give out the bid for filling water, and you guys were like, anyway, well, are we always constantly doing that because you're saying?
That expense, the truck's expense will only be made if we decide that it's cost effective to keep.
Right, but you're putting a placeholder for a massive, money, so like, do you even have an idea of how much it would cost to get it? So that's all I'm asking, like, maybe it is better, maybe it'll be great, I would love it, I would love it to get garbage twice a week in the summer. Like, that would be fantastic, right, but is it cost effective, and before we say we're gonna put $1 million to the side to maybe use it, how do you do that without a good evaluation?
So why don't we take this, but we're continuing, as I mentioned before, some of these items are exploratory. Because there is a deadline for this, and it only happens every 2 years, some of those items need to be put in so they can be accounted.
Right, so we've had 2 years since the last time, we knew it took like 2 years. Research, it seems just a little bit irresponsible.
I think you're making an assumption that function
I'm not making an exception, because I work with these types of things, so I know exactly. I already know the answers to most of the questions. But ask me first, you know the answers.
Okay, so thank you so much for the questions, I really appreciate it. So I do have some preliminary costs, for what it costs for the employees, their benefits, their fringe benefits, insurance liabilities, things like that. So right now, it's all draft, I haven't been able to present that to the second and DPW, because this would all have to be part of their decision making. But as the council president mentioned, this is a once in a 2-year opportunity that we have to partake in this county program to take advantage of the attractive, appealing interest rate. So we have to essentially include it in that to preserve our ability to seek that funding through this mechanism. And like it's earlier mentioned, if we do not go down that route, essentially, we have lost nothing other than, the funds will not be used.
Yeah, so it's irresponsible, that's all I'm gonna say. I think that, I think you fix your list because you have had more than enough time to figure out if it's cost effective. It's irresponsible. This line of credit comes through for all different parts of the state, for all different programs. They have it for the fire department, they have it for municipals, they have it. I know, like I said, I've worked with it. It's a little irresponsible in my opinion, saying you want to put a couple $1 million aside. And then maybe it'll be cost effective, maybe it won't. Please just like be a little bit more cautious when you're spending the money. Not yet, not yet. But it seems to be that every time you guys are up there, at least since I've been at these meetings, you're like, well, maybe, and then you're like, we're like, maybe you shouldn't do it, and then you do whatever you guys want to do. That's so it's just like, just please. I already lost my house in Aberdeen because I couldn't afford the taxes. I'd like to be able to. Thank you.
Anyone else, please, to the floor, agenda items only. Sorry. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Motion passed.
Approval of firefighter. First one.
I'll make that motion.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Motion passed.
Approve firefighter. Motion? Right. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Motion passed.
Ordinance 25-14. Ordinance 25-16. Considering having agreement by the township of Matawan, New Jersey, from the Matawan County Improvement Authority, the execution of the thereto. The motion open public hearing.
Motion.
Second.
No.
Roll call, please.
Councilperson Gunn?
Yes.
Councilperson Silas?
Yes.
Councilperson Russell?
Yes.
Councilperson Reynolds?
Yes.
Councilperson Ross? Motion passed.
So then we have three here first. Vegas.
Yes. So, yeah, so as we talked about this in our finance meeting multiple times, there's an issue with the guns that the police are currently using right now. There's no issue with the guns that we have, but there is a ish thing on them, so they are exploring purchasing new guns. And there will be a debate that is being there are sure the exact amount, but it will be happening.
At this time, anybody from the public, welcome to up and go to ordinance 25-14. Yep. Come on up. So sorry. So that's what it's over time, 80 years. Could you tell me the township of Matawan is associated? All right, from the, like. Anyone else in regards to ordinance 25-14? James? Motion to close the public hearing,
I'll make that motion.
all in favor, opposed?
Motion passed.
Ordinance 25-14, can I have a motion to adopt?
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Madam Clerk, roll call please.
Councilperson Gunn?
Yes.
Councilperson Silas?
Yes.
Councilperson Russell?
Yeah.
Councilperson Reynolds?
Abstain.
Councilperson Ross? Motion passed.
Ordinance 25-15, ordinance to guarantee fire department in the county of Monmouth, the state of New Jersey, the payment of principal and interest for the capital improvement peace revenue bond, 2025, Maryland School District Board of Education project, Monmouth County Improvement Authority. Have a motion to open the public hearing. Second. All in favor? Opposed?
Motion passed.
I just have one quick question. My understanding is that, the Board of Education needs $3.5 million from us, other than the bank debt. And that's gonna be passed on to all of us. Is that true?
I'm not sure we can ever, but we, we're here state. But I'll defer to them, or wants to come here.
Okay.
Speak about it.
Well, I'm really interested in, that because if the Board of Ed, if that is true, is allowed to do that, why don't we just do it? And not incur more debt, it's the fault. Maybe Aberdeen will pick it up for us, I don't know, we're gonna pick up the Board of Ed.
Well, that's not. Sure, if, being able to.
Yeah.
Good evening, my name is Lindsay Pace, I'm business administrator for Fed. And in regard to the 2.5, this would be our fourth round going for the capital program. In regards to what it entails is a 7-year program, which we already have the amount of money built into our operational budget. Part of the agreement with the Montana Authority is when we go out, the town has to back and debt that we have, however, it has already been built in for the last 15 years into our budget. As we move forward, just so you know, some of the things that we're licensed for, it's for vans, whether it be 6-passenger, 24, 29, or 54, as well as a cargo van to be utilized with the lunch program, a pickup truck with a plow attachment for our maintenance and grounds operations, and golf carts for our athletics department. And same thing, we have to have an allowable use for it. Yeah, so that for the but all of this has been built in.
That's what also, and do you know how many?
Very more times. So we are 4 times.
And just, clarification, the 2018 bonus, that we paid over already.
50,000 actually has been paid up for the past 2 years. Unfortunately, with buses, we wanted to invest a little bit longer to be able to be buses and stop for us to purchase. But no,
There's me from.
Sure.
Anybody present? $2.5 million is essentially the borough of Matawan, giving the Board of Ed financial backing. Now,
a portion of that. 34.
what's 34%?
It's basically, it is their, what's it not, so. It's their tax entity that is paying for that, police program for them.
So, why are you?
Part of the authority in order for municipalities and school districts to work together, we have to have the backing of the students. And blessing for it to move forward, that's part of their regulations to be part of the program, and for us to be part of a lower interest rate.
So this is a standard document that it's stress bonds or the financing mechanisms.
Is everything the same thing?
Correct.
This one, make it clear.
That's a good point.
Any other questions?
I did, but I was really, it's long. I did have another question for you. When you say backing, what do you mean by that?
It's just.
How are they voting to say yes, you do this, or some credit, financial credit that we're gonna have as backing? What is the actual? Oh, So I
So
guess,
it's.
yep. Okay.
You're just ensuring.
Okay, but we're still gonna get solar for the.
Well, ours, again, ours have been built within the budget. This would be-
Yes. A little question, not here. The next time you give the heads up, so that we can advance, and you got this thing pretty quickly, and like, get it out the line. I want to answer questions to you. Get struck the bugs, the versions of it. I wasn't on the conversation beforehand. No, Rivers well, so love that, right? Talk with, this is the intent, even think that we could out there, but it's fire. And we can get the case for everything. They don't follow a lot of property. But I get it, it has been extreme measures, but again,
We don't disagree.
So what was the county that?
The county sent over the.
Mhm.
We did. vote.
when you put it for this to the town, what did you do this? One of your hours in timeframe?
Yeah, we didn't know.
Again, I think that's what companies should have been having us say, hey, listen, we're gonna put it for this as well, just so you know.
We had this conversation. Had we known. we also sent over. We agree.
Yes, my name is Catholic Telegram. Everyone in this room received your August tax bills. And saw the tremendous increase in property taxes in Matawan Borough, most of which came from the Board of Education. Question is, if you're coming to pass Matawan for money, why was this not included in the budget considerations of the Board of Education? Would that have put you over the 2% cap, which means we, the voters, would then have the opportunity to finally vote for the education budget, because we have not been able to vote on the education budget for years, thanks to a former government. And believe me, if we had the right to vote on the board budget, we'd be having to cut that budget, because it's increased every year substantially. Those municipal tax rates, the taxes have been going up unquestionably. And my question is, what are we receiving for it? Because if we take a look at the test scores in the Matawan public school system, proficient, non-proficient, non-proficient, where does the accountability come in if you're spending all this money? Every year, public school teacher, principal of high school, and I see things that are going, you give me your budget, I'll cut your budget by 10% with no effective effect on classroom instruction for children. You've got excessive expenditures in that school budget that you could use to pay for this $2.5 million. Sadly, we don't allow taxpayers to do it. But can you answer me, why did the Board of Education to not include that in the budget considerations and that 2.5?
This money, that's
Yes.
actually the coupon, it's part of the 2%. It's built into our operational budget.
So why not is capital to go asking for money?
We're not asking for money, we're just adding, this is part of the regulation to participate in the capital program.
Yes, it is a possibility that we would.
Yes, as per.
That's my point. And invariably what happens all the time is, we get to that point and then bingo. Yeah, hallelujah, we have to pay that $2.5 million. It's just run away, spend, spend, spend. When is it going to stop? We need education, so when we realize that we the taxpayers can't continue to afford this. It's outrageous. My taxes in this borough went up $1,300.
But also go to Monmouth County, it's got to be part of the pilot program, the rainfall.
I'll be talking about later on. So thank you very much.
So just to clarify again, I'm not sure that it's getting the point. The money is built into the budget, it's accounted for. The only way that I want to ever pay that money is if Board of Education, school district defaulted. This loan has been taken out 3 previous times, and it's not been defaulted on. We have no funds on defaulting that, because it's built into the budget, it's already. Two, I would love your help in cutting the budget. Well, we are so tight with funding from the state. We are given unfunded mandates by the state. So we have to do things, but they don't give us the money. Pass the laws. To force us to fund things, but they don't do it. So please come to the education meeting.
If I could just say a question. Taxpayers should be responsible for the loan, whether it's through us or through the Board of Education.
And I just want to add, I don't know the exact stats, but I think there's been a total of maybe less than 5 districts. Certainly, likely.
Anyone else, any questions? Anything else in regards to ordinance 25-15 or for the Board of Education? Anybody else up here? With the base? Motion to close the public hearing on ordinance 25-15.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed?
Motion passed.
And ordinance 25-15, got a motion to adopt. Second. Madam Clerk, roll call please.
Councilperson Gunn?
Yes.
Councilperson Silas?
Yes.
Councilperson Russell?
Yes.
Councilperson Reynolds? Councilperson Ross?
If the most agree to that,
Well, that's unfortunate, it's not for one and not against some things that the school needs that they're paying for themselves, so that's really unfortunate.
Roll call, please. Question, well, so, why?
you could advertise it instead of meeting, which would be sent in a second. We introduce it, if that's what, the mayor wants.
You're really against buying stuff for the school that the school needs.
I'm not, I don't think you need golf course. I don't think you need.
I don't think it's
I
It's not against the question.
don't think you need a plow. I don't think you need. Okay, one question. I have a question.
I'm just curious. Not for the school, supporting the equipment that they need, that's all.
Golf course. Try only.
Would be more cheaper.
That's.
There are services that we can use your truck and plow and your golf carts or.
I'm sorry, can you please state your name for the record?
Thank you. You wanna drive your kids to school, you wanna have the residents drive their kids to school. We have buses and I don't.
Right.
It's.
What's
transparent.
Wait, isn't it true that they stopped the busing, that now it's on the, it's taking, it's on the lottery? So how does that play out?
We are required by law to bus students, even if we're schools. We are not required to do it if they live outside of Maryland. We used to have a pay program where you could buy a seat on the bus.
Right, mine is
We
like,
have to, we are a women's school, I have those, and we don't have the budget, we have to save money because of the cost of the buses, of the fuel costs, of the maintenance costs, it's not aligning with the money that we're taking in, so we can no longer offer substitutes.
I understand that, but the way you just phrased that, you want your kids to school, a majority do have to, because we don't offer subscription.
Yes, that's an unfair statement. Well, there would be, we wouldn't have a bus, so that's how would you live with this?
Listen, I understand that, but again, this is not a line by line, please notice.
Golf course, 25,000.
Okay.
Cargo van.
I'm not saying I'm thinking that. Mayor, I'm saying we can discuss shared services at some point with maybe trouble. I would love to. If it doesn't fall under a requirement like a school bus, I guess we could really. We would, if you have a cloud that we could use, which one have a cloud, we would be open to shared services. First of all, we don't own them. Second of all, when we need to plow, I'd love to do shared services, we do them with a lot of things about and we're open to shared services. But when the roads need to get out and the schools need to get open, and the borough needs to open, we need to be responsible for the borough. So would we all going to take turns out the roads? We can't do that. Well,
Again, it's not, we're going
Thank you.
sorry.
Correct. I think what has to happen is that it's going to have to be a legal. That would be in that it would have to be introduced again for the first reading, and then we would know the second reading. I don't know if that even works within CIA, so it's all different who are involved with that and see it as feasible.
So this may just be failed.
This is failed. So that's going to be the job. So.
Next on our agenda, public hearing for pre-qualification regulations for Lady John Borough expansion and upstate upgrade projects. Resolution 25. Resolution 25-08-02, Borough of Matawan adoption pre-qualification regulations for Lady John Borough expansion and upstate upgrade project. Have a motion?
Make a motion.
Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Councilperson Gunn?
Yes.
Councilperson Silas?
Yeah.
Councilperson Russell?
Yeah.
Councilperson Reynolds? Councilperson Ross? Motion passed.
At this time, public hearing.
No, we do have to do a public hearing on the regs.
And if anybody would like to come up and address the resolution.
And, for information purposes, the folks, we were generously the recipient of the grant from New Jersey for trust to help, revitalize the borough's mansion, particularly as it relates to its electrical, throughout the building. So in order for us to go forward to the next step, we have to adopt regs we have to adopt the qualifications for the bidders before we go out to bid. It's a state procurement requirement, if it will. So this is just a performance step until we can go out to bid.
To the water.
Where some,
Oh, we're still, we are still, the borough's mansion, qualifications and coverage. We'll just close the public hearing for this. Yes.
Do we have to close the public hearing?
Close.
Second.
Third, then we can talk about the qualification for the borough manager. All right, so noted. Public section, have a motion?
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Motion passed.
Take a 5-minute break.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you.
I slept on it for 5 minutes. Yeah, yeah. Go that far. But, you know, when you, my daughter said to see, started a family, mother passed away. 6 years ago, his father was a presentation. Really big for us. Public hearing, failed board, and building system. Have a motion to open the public hearing.
Second.
All in favor? Opposed?
Motion passed.
Before we take a question, we have a presentation.
Thank you. Just going to get the presentation, right? First, I'd like to introduce our guests and professionals. Stephanie Cuthbert from Remington Furnace Engineers, as well as Michael Hughley and GW Financial Group. Both Remington and NW some time ago to assist the borough in starting essentially the first step of the borough contemplating a potential sale of our water and sewer utility or lease. And doing an analysis, terms stated for the Water Infrastructure Protection Act. In which I won't say any of our review professionals, but I just want to thank them for being here, and for the public to know that this is just the first step in exploration to see what, the sale, if the governing body moves forward tonight, it would be a first step in exploring price, and bids for the utility. We know information today, about selling the utility. That will be a decision for the governing body several months down the road, should, it be successful. So, thank you so much. I'll turn it over to Stephanie. Thank you so much. Oh, that too, or that.
Yeah, the microphone says the moving.
Yeah.
Good work.
Okay. Well, thank you, Mayor. As Ryan said, this is the very first step, in terms of considering, utility sale. It's a long process, but this is just the first step, and all this is presenting information for the governing body in order to take to the plan. So it's going to be a joint conversation between myself and Mike. We did the engineering portion where W Financial did obviously did financial.
Just check the minutes before I leave.
Okay. So just a few objectives of the study that we're going to go over tonight. So first, as been stated, this is just a review of the borough system, the water and sanitary system for potential sale. Presenting information tonight. And what we had to do, was we had to take a look at the actual, assets of the water and sewer system. And I'll go through in terms of what we did during the evaluation. From that evaluation, and
If you could explain to people, there's two processes of going about selling utilities and what this process was. Okay, thank you. Okay, you might have, can everybody hear? Hold on.
Why? System's online, and I got batteries.
So as Mayor had, they go a little bit more into the infrastructure protection act. That is what we basically evaluated. When you're selling a utility, it's a long process. There are two different ways that you choose to sell the utilities. One is the traditional way, which is the referendum, which is what is a question on the ballot, November election, and the public can choose to vote, yes, they want to sell the utility system. Or they don't. I'll get into what the Water Infrastructure Protection Act is in the next couple of slides, but what the WIPA process is, the Water Infrastructure Protection Act, it allows a municipality to sell their system without going through a referendum. And not every utility can sell it through the WIPA process. You have to meet certain criteria. And the New Jersey Department of Environmental Protection, or the NJDEP, is the only entity which says, yes, you can sell your system through the WIPA process, or no, you can't. So I'll get into that in a little bit, but that is what this presentation is about. What we're going to present is the information that is required if you are considering a sale, either through a referendum or through the WIPA process. And it involves a handful of reports and investigations, the first of which we're going to talk about is an assessment of the existing infrastructure of the utility system. What assets does the borough have in their water and sanitary system? What do they consist of? What condition are they in? How is investment made into it? The second is from that assessment, developing a capital improvement plan that says, okay, to sustain the system and create longevity in the system over a period of time, what improvements we made? It was not to gold plate the system, it was to sustain the system so that we as residents have drinkable water, drinking water, and their wastewater is properly disposed. After we did the capital improvement plan, we then passed it over to NW Financial, who did a financial analysis that basically said this is the current structure of the water and sewer financially. If the borough were to incorporate the capital improvement plan to sustain the utility, what would that look like financially? Okay. After that report was done, we had to create a value on the system. So if the borough is considering to sell the system, what does that mean, right? Is it worth selling the system? If the borough, I'm just throwing out numbers, if the borough has $50 million worth of debt and somebody's offering you to pay 39 for it, is it worth selling? So to make an informed decision, we put a value on the system. And I'll get into that a little bit in terms of what that included. We talked a little bit about selling the system through the WIPA process. One of the requirements through the WIPA process, and I said that very few systems can sell through the WIPA process. Well, to do that by law, there's 5 conditions, but you have to meet one of them. So we had to do that emergent condition analysis. And then lastly, what we're going to touch on is after we go through all this information, talk about our findings, what are the potential next steps? So, what is WIPA? So we talked a little bit about it. It stands for Water Infrastructure Protection Act. It's been around for about 10 years now. It was developed by the DEP to allow systems to sell their utility systems. To allow municipalities to sell their utility systems. And it's usually based upon certain conditions that if the utility is in a certain position, either financially or operational wise, they can sell their system without going through a referendum. And there's steps that you have to follow. One of them is you have to submit to the DEP, and I'll get into that a little bit later. Again, the governing body can't decide if they can sell through WIPA. We can't. NW Financial can't decide. The only entity that can decide if municipal utility can sell through the WIPA process is the New Jersey Department of Environmental Protection.
I don't know if this is legal or so I can certainly defer, but how many municipalities have used the WIPA process to date?
There's been about 3 that have do so.
Thank you.
So it's very difficult to get it from the DEP. They do a very thorough review. So the first system that were the first report that we had to complete was the system evaluation. And what we did was we toured each one of the borough-owned facilities, both on the water side and the sanitary side. We had a team of engineers that consisted of structural engineers, electrical engineers, and mechanical engineers, and that all of the infrastructure, of course, and we assessed the condition of it. We went around with the operators, we talked to the operators, asked them how they operated things. When things broke down, is it usually reactionary? Did you have a maintenance program? And we looked at historic records too. What we were really looking for were components in the system, like water mains, where there's a lot of breaks. What's the condition of a water main and how we respond by mains? From that, what we saw was for the water system, the borough has about miles of water main, which ranges between 4-inch to 16-inch. Current regulations under the New Jersey Department of Environmental Protection, 4-inch is considered today by too small by standards. Usually 6 inches would be minimum size. The reason for that is to make sure that you have certain pressures and certain flows in the system. A portion of the distribution system, while the borough has been making improvements to it, dating back to the early 1900s, 1910, 1912. The borough gets their water from 2 wells, which draws water from storage underneath the ground. And more importantly, and I really want to emphasize this, the borough is located in critical area number one for water supply. And what that is years ago, the New Jersey Department of Environmental Protection saw that certain regions in the state were withdrawing too much water. And what it was doing, it was depleting that aquifer. And because they were so concerned with that aquifer depleting and nobody would have water, they created two regions in the state, critical area 1 and critical area 2. The borough is located in critical area 1. And what that is whatever amount of water that the borough can withdraw and is allowed to withdraw from the ground is limited. It is stopped, so if you have new development coming in, if you have redevelopment coming in that requires more water, you cannot withdraw it from your own wells. You are capped at a certain amount that you can withdraw. And that's very critical for that understanding as we get into other parts of the
I have a
presentation.
question.
Yes.
Well, if that's the case, and I have like 2 wells down, you're telling us here, and we cannot draw any more water out of the third one.
But
Okay,
just because you put in a well doesn't mean you're drawing more water out of the ground. So what you have is a certain allocation with the DEP. You may be replacing the well, you may be drawing another well, that well may have been depleted. Wells have useful life, so maybe you're drawing a new well.
so, thank you, sir. If I'm allowed to go out with, 100,000 gallons. Whether it's 1 well, 2 wells, 10 wells, I'm only capped at 100,000. Correct? That's
You
the felony?
You were not that.
For all of them or for each?
For all of them, for all of your wells together, you have a certain amount of allocation that you can lift.
I'm gonna ask the audience to hold their questions. Or if you have more questions, we have to answer.
So because of that, what the borough has.
Everybody like the message.
Your allocation, because of that, because you're capped at a certain amount of water that you can pump out of the ground, you actually allow water in the amount of water right now. So the way that contracts work with private water companies is when you want to buy water from them, they say, okay, you're gonna buy X amount of water per month, regardless of whether you need it. So what the borough does, and every other municipality does, is they would use that water that you're purchasing from them first. So if you're purchasing 100,000 gallons from American Water, the borough is using that first, and then any supplemental water that you need is used from your wells. So you're currently purchasing water from them. What you also have is one water treatment plant, which when the water is withdrawn from the ground, when the aquifer is treated before it comes to the users, which is all the residences in their business. And you have approximately 2,886 services. That's homes that actually use the water, right? Those are the users and for East say, let's just say 3,000 customers, connections, homes or businesses that the borough serves. Those are the people that pay rates, the water rates, 3,000 people under the water system, okay? So that's the water system. We also have a sanitary system. So the borough collects the sanitary and it does not treat it. It brings it to Bay Shore Regional Sewage Authority, which is good. We don't have a wastewater treatment plant, which is good because they're expensive, just like water treatment plants. We have 10 sanitary lift stations, and what they are is when you flush your toilet, everything wants to flow by gravity, until it can't flow by gravity anymore. Then the pump stations pump it to the next spot where it can flow by gravity. And it ultimately makes its way to the Bay Shore wastewater treatment plant where it's treated. And, Bay Shore Regional Sewage Authority. You have approximately these 35 miles of sanitary main, very similar to your water main. Some is old, that dates back to 1950. And you have approximately 800 manholes associated with the sanitary system. So our overall observations of the water in your sanitary system, you have a lot of infrastructure, right? We're 3,000 connections for the water and sanitary system. That's a lot of infrastructure to maintain and to upkeep for 3,000 households or businesses paying your rates to keep that running. The borough is doing a great job. We saw a lot of things that were really good in the system. The infrastructure, which is not unique to the borough, is across the country that we see this all the time. And it's just not with water and wastewater utilities, it's with roads, it's with bridges. There's just not enough money that we can collect from those 3,000 users to pay for all the water and wastewater improvements. So, like I said, borough's making improvements, the operators are operating the system well. There's just not enough rates and the money collected from the rates that you pay to make the improvements that are needed.
Can I just clarify that it was needed or improvements to get the system, you know, to have it all done basically, because we do have a plan to get it working.
Yes. Yeah, so it's basically to create the capital improvement plan, which we developed in our inspections, which I think that
Yeah.
goes into it.
Yeah. Yes.
So from our inspections, what we did is we developed a 10-year capital improvement plan. We developed a 10-year capital improvement plan, and it's just that, right? So it's laying out capital improvements prioritized to those which are most important to the system, starting in year one and bringing out for 10 years. What I really want to emphasize is that we do not believe in a gold-plated system or a system which is perfect. It is a waste of money. What we focused on were those improvements which are going to sustain the system and make it reliable for the users, which is the customers and the residents of the borough. From that capital, I said we do not believe gold-plated system, and we can't create perfect system. Issues, but we focus on those projects which would create the most impact. The major trunk lines, the major sanitary, the pumps. So we feel as though the capital improvement plan is very conservative. What we did after we developed the capital improvement plan, we handed that over to NW Financial so that they could take a look at it. If the borough were to implement this capital improvement plan, what would that do to the finances? You know what, I'm sorry. This is what the result of the capital improvement plan was, so if you take a look at, we divided it into the water system and the sanitary system. The water system resulted in 1.7 million a year. And the sanitary was just shy of $1 million a year. So keep in mind, this is not a large, extensive capital improvement plan. This is for sustaining utility. Utility work is expensive. You can get one block of water and sanitary main replaced for $1 million. Figure that is its cost. This is not an expensive capital improvement. It's to great longevity and reliability.
Ten-year capital, okay, 3 points, so it's $33 million.
So the total one would still.
Sir, it's your question, it's for the
And
end.
$36 million, the family, nothing is put wrong. For 10 years, which that's the year for the 50. Progress, which is better. Yeah, nothing else was wrong. With why really only possible. If you're asking me what's say, you're asking me to pay $36 million.
Speaking at this time, we definitely have an opportunity, we one, we need to get you on the record for the clerk, and for recording the meeting, and two, we want everybody to be able to hear you and to be able to hear your questions. Thank you. This is for you.
36 million.
Take a look at the slide. Easier. So 36 million is the amount that needed to be bought.
Yeah, it's pretty simple. You said, I gotta borrow 36 million over 10-year period, 3.6 million, 5 million, couple years. You're still asking my residents to borrow $36 million. So I want that out there, let me hear this. Because I'm the one pushing this. So you don't know how I feel. I need everyone here to understand that we are asking you to foot the bill for $36 million per year. You all understand that. But that's what we're going. So you continue.
If I may, so we are not the winners. We are not the winners who are and our capital improvement plan actually that the borough's named winners who are.
I agree with you. I do, no, we need to improve. I'm not saying we don't do, I agree. It needs to be done. My issue is, I want us to pay for it. Yeah.
So moving on to the next slide, I think it's a practical matter, this is what would have. Let's do this now. For $36 million, you have the ability to improve the infrastructure. It's very favorable, right? It's estimating 200% of its purpose, but it's a significant drop. $36 million would increase the cumulative debt service by about $1 billion.
Okay, which is on top of, let's say, 2025, my utility budget, the utility debt was 15 million already. Not including the 10.8 million we approved.
Yeah.
So
That's
no question.
More than doubling.
Okay, I get it, I just wanted to say, I hope you don't understand, but I'm asking this question, I'm talking slowly, I hope you understand. Because you are asking why. Yeah, $15 million. Add on to every.
Sure, and his experience is not unusual in the space, including among the private operators who will be purchasing the systems throughout the state to get the capital. Private, public, and you are either doing it yourself or entering a larger pool that also has a significant burden doesn't go away.
No, I understand. Right. I think. We are the choice provider. They are working millions of people. I am telling you, free them. I would love to start spending more over 10 million people in those free them. Because they have the schools, they have the manpower, they have the requirements. To do this, they hire one third of what we're doing. The only thing I'm trying to get this thing what?
I need to ask the audience to please withdraw from speaking on that. I need you to be quiet so that people can hear what's going on. Thank you.
So when we look at these valuations, I think what you're talking about, where we had. Tends to be. So we assume that this system. Less cost if it were reduce operating efficiencies and a net income. Then we take a look at a number of ways of valuing. Income approach, comparable sales. We include replacement cost, although that's largely discounted before states that. And across these systems, we lean to the comparable sales approach. In this case, it anticipates sales price in the third one.
Actually, a fair amount of that.
Sure.
You don't take into consideration special income treatment.
Yes,
You do?
that's how we get the income. It's a 30-year.
Sure.
30 years? 42 minutes, 30 years?
It's discounted cash flow of $2.2 million.
Second?
Take the net income, $2.2 million estimated, and discounted at expected cost of capital.
I just read that.
I mean, you know, look, I think the comparable sale is the best method. And there's a pretty wide variance in the comparable sales. Water is the costs, and you are larger than many of the systems that have been sold, something to be effective loss. This is a reasonable estimated thing.
So NW did evaluation as we, there were more on the financial end, we were on the engineering side. The way that we did the evaluation is we looked at each, asset, every piece of pipe, every valve, every manhole, every service, we itemized it, appreciated it, and we came up with a value of 31.3, which is pretty close to the 39. We use different comparable systems, so that's why we see the valuation. This is just to give you an idea of what the value of the system is. It doesn't mean that if you get to the sale that it might, they may bid less, or they may bid more. This is the range that you would be looking for, so if you're looking at what would happen if there's a sale, what will we do with the proceeds of it, or at least there's a starting point in terms of 35, 39 million, in terms of the value of the system. At the very beginning of the presentation, we were talking about the work process. Certain requirements which you need to meet in order for the DEP to approve a sale for the liquor process. So that's why we're talking about very few systems that sold through the liquor process, that the DEP actually has to approve it before you can even move forward. So the 5 conditions that are in statute by law, which have to be one. First one is that the system has to be located in a critical area 1 or 2. The second one is that the owner is a significant non-complier violations, that does not apply to the borough. As we stated, the borough is operating the system well, if there are no violations, you are getting clean, safe drinking water and sanitary water discharge. The third emergent condition, and you only have to meet one of these, is that there is a present violation of a maximum contaminant level in the water system, which that means that there is a contaminant in there, one of the chemicals that is in water systems where the borough has exceeded that limit, that does not apply to the borough. The borough has clean, treated water that is safe for the residents to drink. The fourth one is that there is a demonstrated lack of historical investment. This is really harsh language. The borough has made investment, right? The borough has spent money, the capital improvement plan to plan out the improvements. The question is it enough? Is it enough that as you make improvements, the rest of the infrastructure continues aging? Issues with the mechanical components, the pumps, just as natural use of the equipment. So we believe that the borough is not making investments. Not that they are not, but there is just not enough to catch up in terms of improving the system so that you have that reduction in age as the system continues to age. Fifth emergent condition is that there is a lack of financial, technical, or managerial capacity in the system to properly operate it. We do not believe that there is any technical or managerial shortcomings in the system. We saw a well-operated system. We saw it technically operated. Again, it falls back to the financial. And it's not from a lack of investment from the borough. It goes back to that. Have a lot of infrastructure. 3,000 customer questions that you want those rates. So we believe that emergent condition number one, just by location and critical area one, qualified for one emergent condition. That's how the law is written. You only have to meet one of the emergent conditions, but we also believe that emergent condition 4, which goes back to the financial investment, as well as emergent condition 5, which again has that financial aspect to it. There's just not enough rates that are collected to do all the improvements to sustain the utility based upon all the infrastructure that you have. A wastewater treatment plant and pump stations. And here we just go through each of those emergent conditions, which we believe the borough meets. Versus critical area 1, you can see in the gray shaded area, those are the 2 critical areas with Matawan located right in critical area 1. And then this is just an outline of the historical investment. You can see that we clearly document that the borough is investing in the system. It just goes back to the amount of infrastructure and the number of customers that left the revenue to make those improvements. And then we also believe, in our opinion, that emergent condition number 5 is met. Again, not from a managerial or a technical perspective. The system is being run well. It again goes back to that financial money there that is available to continually invest in the system at the rate that you invest it. So what are the next steps? If the governing body decides to move forward and wants to see if the DEP will approve the WIPA process, they'll pass a resolution which allows us to submit those reports to the DEP. The DEP then has 30 days to review those reports. They also get the DCA, Department of Consumer Affairs, as well as the Board of Public Utilities involved. They review all the information, and within that 30 days, they say, yes, we can use a limited condition that exists, and you can sell the system. If you choose to proceed through the regular process or no. Either way, nothing is binding. Borough can choose to take it all the way through, see what bids they'll get for the system, to see what money we will actually receive for the system. If they don't like it, we can say we choose not to move forward. So nothing is binding until you actually sign with the purveyor that you want to award the system to. Sorry, just one more thing. So what happens if the merging condition is approved by the DEP? The borough has to publish it on their website, wait 45 days so that the public can make comment. After that 45 days, if there's a petition that is not signed, they can move forward with the regular process. If they choose to, they don't have to. If they want to need to proceed forward, they can. What is really important to understand about the regular process and getting pricing from the private utilities is that in a normal referendum, you say, here's the system, gives your best offer, and then the offers come in, whatever is the highest price, the municipality is selling the system, accepts it or they decline it. With the regular process, what is really good from the perspective of the borough, the residents of the staff, we don't ask for prices. We ask for them to address the emerging conditions. Are you going to get the borough to make improvements to the system over a period of time? When we get those responses in, whoever chooses to address the emergent conditions which the borough feels in that's in the best interest of the borough, we can then negotiate cost with the private utility companies. You can't do that with referendum. And again, none of this is binding. All of this can be viewed as just gathering information to make an informed decision. So that is essentially the regular process outlined in all the reports that we move to a lot of questions. Good job.
But this is how to elaborate on the petition period and
Yes.
what the residents can do with that.
45 days, so submit to the DEP, they say yes, proceed, pursue the sale, the process. The borough can't do it in 5 days. Instead, the residents can sign a petition to stop the sale of the utility system through the limit process. It has to be a certain number of a certain number of signatures as a percentage of whoever voted in the last election. That makes sense. So the borough would be able to calculate that based upon the number of voters in the last election to see how many signatures are needed. So if the residents choose to stop a liquor sale, doesn't preclude the borough from saying, okay, we still think that selling the system is in the best interest of. They can still go out for a referendum sale at the next November election.
So, right now we have a choice. But. Oh, and. Approve this. In the period of 45 days, no resident of town say no. Don't sell it for more. Can. The selling referendum is significantly less. So again, I think people will be that argument. So if the resident of town vote against the bill, so you sell it. Let me finish. The liberal process allows you to get a greater value. First referendum, right? Referendum only give you what, appreciate it?
No, the way that you do evaluation between the two different, the web process allows you to complete evaluation in a different manner than which typically does result in a higher sale price.
On purpose.
Yes.
Okay.
What you can do with the WIPA is also negotiate, right? So that will allow you to negotiate different things.
Okay, but everybody can just say 45-day period. The residents can sign a petition
A petition.
to not go through to.
Like that, it has to be a certain.
And if you're getting enough votes, say. 30, votes, and they get that. What's our?
The,
Go referendum?
no, so you definitely cannot sell to the local process. You
Okay.
still choose to sell to the referendum.
So basically, the petition would hold our ability to get more money to negotiate a higher sale. Okay, okay. I think people don't put that here, because they don't.
So if we were to go through, let's say that this petition is successful and we're now essentially, we have the option to contemplate selling through referendum. If we sold the referendum, that essentially would allow public residents to make the final determination on the sell, not the.
Right, and they're saying, what this this petition, I think the president should know. What you're signing. I think people need to let that start now, if you're not signing, you are taking away our ability to negotiate a higher sale price. You know, what, I tell you, it's a hell of a difference in price. If we go to government, you probably get 20 million, whatever, I don't even know what something. If I go to the prices, I can get more, so you have to negotiate. The residents here, we may be against it, here, sign a petition, not to sell it. You are taking away our ability to negotiate a higher sale price. If we do sell it. Like Stephanie said, nothing is done in stone. It's all in the support of. So do not handcuff us. And say, you know what, we will sell it for, we're going to sign a petition. Give them the ability to get the best price available. And then we can, we all want to do this right. We're not going to sell anything else. Do not handcuff us by signing a petition that will make you not sell it, because you are taking away the region.
The petition has to be signed by Matawan. So who would verify the signature? So who would verify? No, I think it would be beneficial number for the residents watching. You know, how much this process is. And what will be paid for this process before they go. Because the district tax on their stuff.
I can, the resolution we approved tonight will provide the expanded scope of how much we expect this process to cost the ratepayers. No, excuse me, well, if it would be. Oh, it would. I can certainly get. September 2nd. And not responded by that, so. Do you have a question? This point. Yeah, we're going to bring to the, oh, so, and the clarification, one at a time.
That's it.
My microphone's not going on. Oh, was they are not connected, I don't know why. You wanna have it set at the end of this? I guess.
Guess so.
Okay.
Yeah.
So just to make sure, we're going to have to speak again.
Hi, I'm Amber. I just have a couple of questions. When you, I guess I'll ask my questions and just hear your opinion. My first question is, just so I understand, I believe you said that we're even if we dig 100 wells, Matawan supply can use, but use it from American River City. That's my first question. Is what technically you say why we're building wells? That's my first question. So I think you said the word conservative when you're talking about the cost. So I get concerned with that word because I don't know if anyone's ever done any type of construction. They tell you it costs $50 and it's $10,000. So I guess I'm a little concerned with that bare minimum amount because if and when other things come up, again, who's gonna have to pay for it? 60 million is here, and you're not keeping that, from what I'm understanding, and this is the first time I'm hearing about it, but it seems that there's no cost, that I mean, maybe I'm wrong, but like infrastructure costs, so let's say there's a water main break, you have to break open the ground, you have to pay for that, you have to pay traffic light, you have to pay for the new pipes, like, it doesn't, I don't feel like that was like put into the cost, which is concerning because anyone who lives in Matawan and or Howard, you know, 10 people use their water at the same time. It's really expensive, especially in the winter. And then I guess my other is when you made your comparisons, I guess I was like thinking of it almost like you're selling a house, right? If you wanted to sell for a lot, you get all the high comparables and everything. Look, we could sell your house for $10 million, right? But here, I'm a little concerned because I feel like that maybe the general consensus is not to sell, so did we get lower comparables versus higher comparables? So I guess my question is, how do you compare, because we went, you said 39 billion, so that looks like a really low end, right? So where are we at? That's a very, that's what I'm interested in. Okay, those are my questions. So,
So back to the allocation, whether you drill 10 wells, 2 wells, there still have to be that drop in those wells. So a lot of times what happens with groundwater wells, like another one is the existing ones may be exhausted, right? It doesn't mean that you're drilling more underground, it just means well, you get out what you form it out now.
okay, so let me just, so it's a lot of, well, just let me make sure I understand. So, well, A, I just feel like it's like, I almost feel like we're talking sort of, well, A is capped at 5 gallons. We are taking 5 gallons out, so well A now is dead, right? We can't use well A. So we're gonna build well B, right? So where's that water coming from? Is American water bringing it into us? Or we're just saying we're gonna tap it from like the right hand side instead of the left hand side of the well, instead of finding more water?
Let me see if I can explain it.
Let's
Let's
talk about
say,
it. I'm still
yeah.
Thankfully, we do have a growing and Rose and Rose Fontaine. They're intimately involved in the construction of the third redundant well. So I guess regarding that specific question, we can ask if one of them understand the need for that well.
We understand the need for well, we need to well because buildings and they can't tap into our roots. Sure.
So again, just ask if Rose.
Associates. Just to give a little background history, the borough is actually permitting for 1,400 gallons per minute. They currently have 2 wells. Originally, if you remember, each well was rated at 700 gallons per minute. Now, the way that the DEP determines capacity is that they take the largest well out of service, and only limited by the remaining well. If you have 2 wells, that means it limited us to only 700 gallons per minute. We're minute to 1,400 gallons per minute, we could only be approved for usage of up to 700 gallons per minute. So there was a ban that was issued for future developments because of that. To address that, we increased the pump of both wells to go to about 800 gallons per minute. But because we only have 2 wells, we're only still limited to 800 gallons per minute. In order to provide additional water services, we added a 3rd well so that that would be and remain dormant, and we would then be allowed to maximize our allocation up to the full permitted amount of 800 gallons per minute. My other
Well,
question.
we shouldn't just meet up, I guess that one might be a good comment on that. So there's a formulaic that it needs to be used, right?
Yes, absolutely, yeah, and that happens with wells all the time, so I think that your engineer is spot on, I just didn't know the specific.
Was, what is the cost of other sustainability?
Okay. So, the way that we do evaluation, so we did it by 2 different calculation methods, and then we used comparable costs. Because the comparable costs are so variable, it's really difficult to find an exact system comparable to Matawan or any other system. We did a weighted average. Because that's so variable, the comparable system, it was weighted for least 20% versus the other 50%. So that's how we compensate for it. The fact that we came in very close to that, two completely independent evaluations, I think we're in the right ballpark. So I don't think there's anything low, anything high.
It's convenient, but anyway, my other question was, is that the comparisons, is that including the new overlay they put there for Masquerades all been out? Or because that's gonna create like new wells and we have to make its use, right? So that's gonna be a lot more use than what we currently have. So how does this like factor into all of that may be possible, because we like to work in these.
So when we do evaluation, we have to do existing infrastructure. So anything that is planned for the future, anything that is in construction that is not online.
So then it's really not saying this now. And construction companies decide to buy Raceway and where, let's say, next tacos are, and they're gonna be, I don't know, businesses on top and make that all apartments or whatever the case is, and we have to do different hookups and all of this. This isn't really a true valuation, right? Because we're missing like an entire section of our town that we're about to build up.
In 2 years, once it's built up, we would want to do another evaluation. Just keep in mind that.
But we're gonna decrease the value of our, right? The more we use something and it's old, it decreases the value of it.
Yes.
We're gonna take it off. It's $5,000 less, right? So if we wait 2 more years and now whoever wanna buy our company, our water, says, okay, great, well, 2 years ago, I think it was this, but now we have all this other stuff that, you know what I'm saying? It doesn't seem beneficial to me, just in case, it just doesn't seem like a true value. Exactly, and that's the point, like, that's
the point of.
right, so, you know, I just feel like the numbers that's being thrown out there sounds like, oh, look, it's only gonna cost us 36 million, and we're only gonna get 39. But we don't know what's gonna happen because we just approved all this extra infrastructure.
I'm just gonna clarify that we don't know what we're getting, this is all hypothetical, so it's. We don't know what that is, it's the only hypothetical.
No, I know, that's what we do. We do lots of things. What that means is that we approve things that just in case, that's what hypothetical, it's like, maybe it will happen and maybe it won't, right? This, so that's what we do here. This is, I think, to me, a lot of hypothetical budgets and plans.
Well, and I just, not to confuse various different issues, but the overlay that you're referencing, there's no approvals for any building to go on permanently. The overlay that was created for area is simply if someone was looking to do a development that includes housing, it would require them to do 20%.
Right, but it's going to take something that was a gas station and turn it into a mixed-use building, right? The water usage is gonna be much higher, right? So therefore, it is, I find it to be a little bit irresponsible to say, well, just in case, just what I'm saying, Ryan, is that every time we say what's in case, we use it, we go over, okay? And we are paying for it. Y'all, you don't live here, Ryan, you don't pay for it, okay? I'm sorry, you don't pay for it. You don't live in our town. We pay for every single time you guys use the toilet paper, we pay for it. And I don't think anyone has a problem paying for this. It's just that it feels so like, and I can't even think of the word. It feels like ingenuine, right? It feels like there's an empty checkbook, and every time we're like, why? Everyone's like, oh, it's gonna be here, and then in 2 weeks, it's $1 million more, and everyone got their tax bills, and people are paying over $3,000 extra a year. And it's impossible, and then to say we're just gonna like maybe do evaluations and maybes, and maybe it will make it higher. It will make it higher. It just.
Mr. Burke, no, I certainly understand the frustration. I get it. I don't believe in that. I do appreciate that sentiment, but I do treat it as a municipality that I would want to live in. So, and with that said, we can't estimate in hypotheticals. There are no approvals for that zone. So for us to even guess at what would go there, it would be already flawed.
We
So
just approved, and the first thing we approved, a hypothetical line of credit. What are you talking about? We don't do hypotheticals. We just approved a hypothetical line of credit, and then said no to another line of credit that always gets paid. So like we don't deal in hypothetical. Yes, you do. Every meeting I've gone to, every meeting since last year, and I don't go to all of them. Every meeting I've come to, everything is hypothetical.
yes, no, I'm going to
Okay, I'm going to start.
Please state your name and address for the record.
John Sir, first place, Matawan, 180774 service number. Okay. I watched your presentation and it was eye-opening. I wasn't expecting, but some of the comments, funds not allocated for routine maintenance. That's water and sewer are critical, but yet we'll have a pretty bench on the site. But we don't want to do anything for water and sewer, but because we put a bench with flowers and the majority council can take a picture with that and say, look at what we did, that's it. So you don't allocate funds for routine maintenance, so you put us in this position. You've been majority council for a decade now, which is a decade too long. NW Financially, you did the independent analysis, correct? Are you also planning on being the underwriter for this? For bonds. We're not going to bond it, we wouldn't bond this outright.
Some system will be up.
Yeah.
No, you can talk about the actual food.
Right. The fund is approved.
That's to go through the,
No, go to the.
Okay, all right, very good. And then I would like to address the resolution itself, because this may all be for nothing. And I want to know, why was it permitted for a majority council member to publicly post on social media that there is no intention to sell the water utility? Question mark, because my questions don't get answered. If that is the case, then why is the borough expending taxpayer dollars on the WIP process? Question mark. This process involves not only the cost of a financial analyst and an engineer, but also additional professional resources and services. Residents deserve clarity. Are these expenditures necessary, or are we finding a process that's already been predetermined to lead to nowhere? Anyone gonna answer those questions?
Nothing's been determined. This is a fact finding mission. requires the exploration to get the information so we can make an educated decision. Everything is based on hypotheticals right now because we don't know how much the system potentially develop for it, right? Right? Can we agree?
I agree. But one of your majority council members posted that.
And since it was me, it was people, you misquoted me. I said right now. And then my next post was, we are going through this process. We're going to be crunching the numbers. We're going to be listening to our residents. And then we're going to try to make a good decision. So if you're going to quote me, I appreciate you at least do it. Well,
Okay, I'll present.
thank you. Oh, it's okay.
The other question that I had, in regard to the 10 lift stations, the ones that we use, there was a mention about they are being maintained.
So I think that, I just want to clarify a few things. I want to just say to everybody that the borough has absolutely invested in money in the system. But, I mean, none of
I
it.
mean, I did as a ratepayer,
That's right.
right? No. And
Like,
We are, right, we all live here, we all pay.
we do tend to worry about that.
but as an engineer that looks at the system, looks at the amount of revenue that you have coming in from the rates that are collected from the residents, that it's just not enough. So when the statement is made, operational costs, maintenance, it's not, that's not an accurate statement. I think that the operations staff that is running those.
This isn't about staff.
Every day, is doing a great job.
That's not what I'm looking at. It's about staff.
I'm just saying that I don't wanna be misquoted that,
Staff.
that the borough is not investing in infrastructure. We absolutely.
Okay. Well, we're at this point now, we weren't investing in it for all those years, and now we're gonna have a 10-year plan that's gonna cost us tens of millions of dollars. Yeah.
There's nothing else.
Right, if nothing else goes wrong, that me as a ratepayer, I'm just gonna wait. Oh, there it is. Thank you. You're not the experts. You were elected. Government looks in 97 George Street. First. Groups, we introduce before. So the first that you don't represent contentious buyers. But do you think, in your opinion, that if someone did buy it, okay, then it would affect our rates to our advantage? Would our bills, I mean, I just had my check balance, which was trying to juggle a mortgage and everything else on the first salary, it's not easy, and there is no help in this town for seniors, there just isn't. Reputation is not help. Okay, losing my house, and the only one who's losing his house, I get the overall way to go. Do you think that maybe our bills would go down? I mean, you're gonna sell it, I mean, it was, but we're gonna sell it. It's about $1 of what we sell it for. It's positivity. But do you think that the new company would be able to charge us less?
So, that's gonna be dependent on the purchases, but I will tell you this. I'm not here just to state the facts that I don't know of any private utility company that's doing its rates. They're actually governed by Board of Public Utilities, what they want to do. Customers across many regions. They don't want Matawan paying less than 5 minutes, less than yours. BP wants them to get to, everybody has the same rates. So that everybody's paying the same amount. Now, what the BP will do is they will govern in terms of how quickly they can raise rates. So you're not gonna get immediate increase, but it will happen over a period of time, if they need to raise rates. I'm not sure when the rates.
What is the person inflation? So you looked at the students too?
We did not visually inspect them, but we looked at records regarding their issues were the age of them.
Okay, so the sewer in my house is the oldest in town. Okay, so do you think they're gonna have to replace them
I
and
think
be on our properties and damage? Like they did the last time they had to fix something?
I can't answer that, there are, modern ways of repairing a sanitary main without going out and digging everything up to store the structure of it. But that would, I think that your TN may be able to answer that better, or I would tell you that it's private purveyor to look at it.
But will the influx of whatever we sell it for? Would that offset our rates or anything, or
That,
there'd be no relief?
it's up to the governing body, so the part of
We're
which
just
is
having more efficient system.
the more patience is the.
Okay, speak to you about that.
I mean, I think to the extent when it's a cash infusion, you as a citizen would be a beneficiary of that in the context of federal services or level.
Well, this is an aside, okay, if you do get a lot of money, then maybe you want to even possibly look into doing some kind of a program for senior citizens who are living on a fixed income, so they don't have to live on the street.
My name is Enrique Solano, I left 43 in Nash County. Aberdeen. My name is Enrique Solano, 43 Atlantic Avenue, technically Aberdeen. The reason why I'm here today is because I know that there are people in this room that don't live in town, technically, that are here about the water. I'm one of those people. I fortunately have the luxury of being a water bills now because of the way the town is split up. One side of the street is Aberdeen, the other side is down. The way that the pipes run on that side of town, there are several minute experiences. So I just want to make the council aware that just because we don't specifically live in Matawan, we do pay. And I believe just the same amount of rights to be concerned about that the sale of the water as a resident of Matawan. That being said, I am very involved in Aberdeen, Environmental Board Change Commission. I'm also a member of the Monmouth County Watershed Alliance, of which I'm not sure if you guys are aware or have possibly looked into alternatives for selling water systems, but there are renewable ways to gain water access and potentially lower the cost instead of just looking at selling our public utilities. There are many examples of rainwater collection that can be implemented to varying degrees, maybe not as potable water, but in terms of lessening the burden on the aquifer. I see a lot of municipalities, buildings that have sprinkler systems, a lot of school systems that have sprinkler systems. That could be one implementation or something like that. I think that should be explored by the council as a inexpensive way to kind of open the course out. There's a great organization out of Rutgers University that has several courses that they do for free, where they teach you how to build the systems and implement them into your infrastructure. Just maybe it's great.
Yeah, a couple questions that I had like initially. How old are the maps of the aquifers that are considered to be in like, I'm not sure the words that you use, dangerous territory. Yes, exactly. Would you happen to know like when the last time that study was done or how old those specific maps are?
Yeah, so regulations have been in place for some time. The DEP has seen a recovery of some of those aquifers, so it's a positive thing, but they have not released the restrictions.
Right, but there's no like quantifiable like level of the aquifer that.
Yeah, they do test, they monitor it for levels.
What I'm saying is there's no like, okay, this is red line, we're almost tapped out. This is excess.
Absolutely, they
Do we
have,
know where we're at?
so we are in a good place, the aquifers are getting higher, so the critical areas are doing what the DEP wanted them to do, they're allowing the aquifer to raise up the actual levels, I don't know off the top of my head, but they do monitor it, the aquifers.
I think it would be, pertinent to the overall decision to try to be aware of those quantities, before we start making hasty decisions.
That's all we dedicate, dictate about it, big, so.
Yeah, correct, but
You got to shenanigans.
that's fine, but that's something that we can work towards as county or as a community to. One point that I wanted to make is if this sale was to go through, just because we sell to a company and our infrastructure has certain issues, that doesn't mean that that said company is not going to have the same issues. They're going to need to replace the same things that we need to, make the same things that we have. Frankly, a more expensive cost because for-profit companies and have to take care of CEOs, boards, investments. This is not something that people are considering. That are considering with this decision. I believe inherently that water should be a human right. Clean drinking water should be a human right, and not a for-profit industry. Everybody in this town should have. It shouldn't be a luxury. And this sale of the water system, above being morally wrong, in my opinion, would disproportionately affect the poor people in our community. The people that can't afford it the most. Personally, my water bill's gone over 30% in the last year alone. And I live in a house with me and my fiance. We are ourselves 3 times.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, my name is Joe Kessler, I live in Taylor Road. Couple of questions with regard to capital improvement, which is speaking about the $56 million over the 10 years. Is there some sort of state grant money that is available to finance that? Example, the city of New York and other cities in northern New Jersey have a problem with the pipes. When the state of New Jersey came in and said, we're going to give you all the money you need to take care of those pipes. I don't want those utility or sewer available to get monies from the state of New Jersey grant to effectively pay for some of that $30 million of infrastructure.
I mean, I can tell you, that's definitely the first step too. But what I can tell you, we are actively pursuing grants. We do all the time. During the mayor's administration, we obtained $7 million in grants. And continue to do so because we think that's very. We recently procured another. Thanks to Congressman Plumlee, procured another $1 million for pipe replacement. Unfortunately, we're expecting that to be clawed back in these weeks, so we're don't believe that would be appropriate to us because we have the funds in the previous session. We received it was $700 something another dollar, and that was clawed back by the vendor.
So what is the total amount of money that we available for that's applicable to the $36 million 10-year capital improvement.
I don't have that information for you. I don't know what grants, what other grants are available out there now, which that he wasn't able on that, but I'm going to give you that we have been actively trying to get it. Both of those grants were dedicated to lead police, lead line of police.
The bottom line is just a taxpayer, ratepayer, 3,000 ratepayers here in Matawan. And I know the gentleman just asked the question about what is the impact of selling to American Water, but we don't know that, that's an unknown. But I do have issues with the way in which you calculate the sewage rate for Matawan Borough. I live in one house myself. The volume of water that I consume in water is about good. I pay the same sewage charge as everyone else, like the neighbor who has 5 children, and their consumption of water is astronomical. Why can you not calculate the sewage charge based upon the volume of water that you use? It's easy to put it in a database, and when bills go out, it's calculated upon the volume of water that you use. That will be the sewage rate that you pay. Many other communities in the local area around us, they calculate the sewage charge based upon your consumption. Why can't we do that here in Matawan? That would make it fair for everyone. After all, my house is assessed a certain valuation, other houses in Matawan are assessed a different valuation. The reason why they're different sizes, different lot sizes, and your tax rate is based upon the size and the value of your house. Well, the value of water, if I'm only using a little of it, why am I paying this sewage charge, which is equal to everyone else? And then the third question I have is, if we were to go through with the sale of the water company, this is to the elected representatives, we have a certain number of employees who are part of the water sewer department. What happens to those employees? Do they then cease to be employees and work for the New Jersey American Water Company, thereby saving the taxpayers' salaries, benefits, et cetera, et cetera?
Sure. So I can't speak exactly what would happen to those employees, but I know that we no longer have the finances to sustain all of those positions. So, you know, I certainly would never want to let someone go, but couldn't expect to put it on the taxpayers' burden either. So tough decisions would have to be made if they weren't leaving for attrition, for retirement. There might have to be job elimination.
We have 11 employees that are dedicated to each other, of which what, 7?
So we have,
Okay. Partial salaries in this building, police, to the utility. The greatest.
right, well, I'm sorry to hear that. Again, it's started with one thing. I can't necessarily, I can't say exactly what we would do. But I can say there will be a reduction in revenues, and there are several reduction in revenues. And we would have to make difficult decisions, and if we are expecting to maintain the same exact amount of employees that we currently do without the revenue to support it, I don't know if we can keep that going without being a burden to the taxpayers. Yes.
How much do we need someone for the year?
I think it's 5.4, is that something?
No, no, like, to be clear, like, after we pay chemicals and we don't hear.
To be frank with you, Councilwoman, I don't really feel that we clear anything, and yeah, I get it's just.
System is basically something that you're not transferring in your budget from utilities. Utility is charging rates and using other rates to pay for the costs.
What? spending plan requires what you spend, which means that we're not making part of it, but it's that.
Inside.
We don't actually.
We do not take a profit from the revenue of the rates. The rates solely go to pay for the expenses related to the water and sewer utility. It's staff, it's insurance, it's liability,
Would it
it's
also
facilities.
be the expense
That, yes, it does.
we didn't
I don't.
The debt is being paid for by salaries are being paid for.
Nothing comes from the tax line. So I think it's helpful to understand that the municipal tax levy is a completely separate budget from that water and sewer utility. So they don't necessarily come together at any point. So the rates that help us pay for the debt service, like, would go away for some of the debt service, but the employees obviously. So there are.
So it's not something. But it does. When it, being allocated there, it should be already for the budget. But not.
But again, Councilman, please, I was never my intention to state firmly that we would do any of those. I think I specifically said I would never want to do that. So please don't mischaracterize me as at all, especially with staff.
What that said, it sells. It's what about years ago. The allocate back into the fall. What? So about 1.2. Okay, 1.2. I get rid of my debt. And my general fund, which is 2.4 million. My general fund is 16, there's 2.4 million for cash. My utility budget is 3.7 million, of which 2.2 million for cash. One budget, I have two budgets, 15% goes to service debt. I get rid of that, guess what? I'd be more than happy if we got this place here. I'm sure Eric would love to get the workers. I'm still working on town and do work on town. That they need to do the work. So I don't work on the So I don't know. I would hear, I would say once. We got enough to fire. I mean, yeah.
No, I just wanted to answer your question about funding. One of the things that DEP will be very strict in terms of considering what financial low interest loans. They don't want to be only at the last resort, and make sure they that. So, it is fully considered the borough's speaks grant funding, but even during sale, what's funding.
Just a couple more questions that I want to solution. First, a suggestion for the council, as you follow this process and communicate with the ratepayers and citizens of Matawan Borough, please communicate this to us. We don't have a Matawan Nation independent newspaper any longer. The only reason I came here is on another issue to find out that you're contemplating selling the water company. I don't think that of the 9,500 residents of Matawan, maybe 100 know that this is serious consideration. The rest out there have no clue that this is even because I didn't. So you need to communicate to the taxpayers and the ratepayers that this is being considered. The next question I had was going to address that? Brian, can you address that? It's on the website, it's advertised. It's on the website. I understand that, but how many people in here, let's just think about it, sent a letter to everybody's house and they said we need to get taxes. What's that? You sent a letter to everybody's house for each meeting, this posted alone will raise taxes. And
Just know that, but should it come to them, I think that, you know, we need to get that information out there, I absolutely agree with them. And then to put that in another option as to why it should reference in this.
But Mr. Mayor, we send out report, you can insert that notification in the report, which you send out, which wouldn't cause like the agenda change. It wouldn't be accurate. Okay, another observation, first, if you got $39 million for the sale of the utility, $39 million. Our question is, what will be done with that $39 million? I'll give you an idea. If you do sell it at $39 million and 3,000 ratepayers, you could give every single ratepayer $13,000. That would pay for a lot of water sewer bills for many years to come.
First of all, after that process, I would require to pay off all the debt, so that comes up first.
Well, you're required to do what?
Pay off all the debt first,
Or the town.
all the debt.
Every town is dead. Well, we're the town, so pay us, so we're the
We
ratepayers.
can't do that under the process.
Well, Anyway, the one last thing I ask you to do is please look into changing the calculation that you use to determine the sewer rate for each paying customer based upon the volume of water that they use. Mr. Mayor and Ms. Councilwoman, 2 years ago you came to my home, I mentioned that to you. Phone hasn't rang an answer from you since those 2 years. Never got an answer. Second thing is, where the school taxes are calculated, you didn't know how it was done, when you get back to me, you never got back to me. It's based upon tax assessments, not the per pupil basis, you should have known that, Mr. Mayor.
That's a really quick question about, laying off people. I work in corporate America, and we have difficult agreements to lay off people or to fire people. Why does it sound like that this borough itself, employees, is a big family, and no one gets fired, but we'll still get stiffed with that tax burden? I don't understand where it's firing people. People get fired every day in corporate America. Is it special friends with daddy? You need their votes, they're part of the restore matter. Understand what is going on? Why? Who? You have to do what's best for the citizens, not what's best for the employees. I'm sorry. And every employee can hate me. I live in 49 Crescent Place. I'm not going to.
Marsh 162 Jackson Street, Matawan here. So I have a couple questions about, like, what Matawan pays. So how much does it cost Matawan taxpayers to run and maintain the park?
It's in some of the.
Joey, what you put in the question? 6.7. Okay.
So this has got all the revenue and everything?
That's what I do. I just have a question.
Okay, thank you. Cool. You guys know where the revenue goes to?
Chemicals.
Okay. Do you make any revenue from the months we purchased from American Water?
don't know.
I mean, you have a rate that you pay for consumption. That rate collectively pays for your budget. It includes salaries and wages, it includes purchasing water, it includes getting your sewage treated, it includes the debt service on the investments you've made. It's not, there is no sort of division of the money that comes in that. The other rates, they go into the budget, they pay for the cost.
Debt that we currently have, what, so.
What, 2025, right now it's 15.1. That doesn't include 10.8. That's up. So it could be 26. That's if you fill it, you know, for the general fund.
Everything.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. My name is Charlie Prattville, with Central Jersey Organizer with Food Water Watch. Speaking to you tonight on behalf of 72,000 members and supporters around New Jersey. Our New Jersey headquarters is located at 100 Fire Street in Brunswick. Live in New Brunswick, but I do have many friends here in Matawan. I have fond memories, good times eating at some of your fine restaurants here. I'll start by thanking the council for joining with now more than 50 municipalities in passing a resolution in support of the New Jersey Climate Super Fund Act, and so thank you here when that occurred. But I'm here tonight because our organization started to help people build power needed to fight back against corporations that are trying to control food and water. Water privatization is a very big issue here in New Jersey, and I would like to share with you an article that we have. Well, 3 reasons why water privatization is a bad deal for New Jerseyans. So I think that copies for all of you after we're done. Just a quick synopsis. Water privatization is a bad deal for New Jerseyans because privatization leads to higher costs for the ratepayers, higher bills. It's a guarantee. As was mentioned, utilities are not in this for charity. They are not nonprofit organizations. They have a dividend that they pay to their shareholders, and that comes from the ratepayers. They buy water systems to make profit, and that profit is built into the rates that the ratepayers pay once the system's sold. That's just a fact. Another reason, corporations put profit on people. So when we talk about the public workers who currently serve the residents having an uncertain future if the system is sold. That's a reality, and it's just one downside of selling the system. Big corporation with interests in the states, they're going to pick and choose where they make their investments. They may not make the same investments that the elected leaders of the borough will make. They may not maintain the system to the same quality standards that it is today. And of course, privatization takes away local control and democracy, and that's one reason I'm really concerned to see the borough considering moving ahead with the WIPA process. We've worked to stop privatizations like this all over New Jersey, and often when the voters get the choice, they reject selling this important municipal asset. But unfortunately, WIPA gives municipalities a chance to bypass their own voters, bypass their own residents, allowing for system sales without a public vote. So I want to ask, why are you using WIPA? If this is such a good idea, why not let the voters have the final say?
I think, but I think we're doing part of the exploration right now, and we're going through the process. I'm not committed to doing anything either way until we get the information. I need to make an informed decision. We very much have a capital plan to invest, even though those are very large numbers. We understand why I feel overwhelming. They are very large numbers, but we're system and budget, and we do the capital plan to address those needs, and I'm confident that we can do that. As you mentioned before, we have a 5-year plan that we worked through with finance committee. And that is to cover our operating costs as well as our infrastructure investment. And to your point, we don't have a rate of shareholders to exclude the profits you already have rate of return to. So that's something that is very concerning to me as well. We only consider clean water to the
Which will be,
So, Madam President, am I to take your comments to mean that you'll be voting in favor of resolution 2583 tonight?
I'm voting to get the information. I am not committing to selling the water utility at this time until we have more information.
Okay, and are you planning to vote in favor of resolution 250810?
Yeah, and for the public's knowledge, essentially that resolution expands the scope of services from Article 3 to essentially, if the governing body proceeds with accepting the report, it would authorize to solicit bids, should we be successful.
At what cost?
Unfortunately, do not have the resolution in front of me. If someone has the resolution, to read the cost.
That's one of the, and that's two is 25,000. I know you could ask, Remington Borough, I don't know that my resolution. If I may just make a concluding statement, I wanted to say that I hope, we're here to help. And we have experts that work with us, and I hope you'll be willing to meet with them. Also, the Association of Environmental Authorities of New Jersey, Peggy Gallows, has volunteered that she'd like to meet with you and discuss this before you move forward. I would respectfully ask you to table those two items and not spend additional funds pursuing a witness sale of the system at this time. Obviously, it's not the right path forward, and I hope you read this. And I do want to just say that I have a petition here that for anybody who's against selling the water system, I hope to sign the petition. And it's our right as Americans to petition our government, so I don't think elected officials should be telling you not to sign a petition. Thank you.
I just want to reiterate, there's no determination being made on the sale tonight. That will potentially take place at a later date. In addition, I think it's prudent for everybody to get all the information. While philosophically we may have different opinions, it's important to get the facts so you can deal with the reality of the factual information.
let's give it, the facts open, because I'm sitting up here busy, and I was gonna tell you, I wanna get it fair. Yeah, my duty up here, my diligence is to my residents, I gotta do the best for them, and to explore this sale, to not do it, is a gross injustice. So I have to, in conscience, explore the sale. I mean, we all say, nothing is set in stone, but give us the ability to do that without handcuffing. That's all I said, not signing the petition. Give us the ability to do our job here. Again, it's me, I'm the one doing it. Everyone, collectively, 20 years. Because if I succeed, 9,000 people succeed. If I fail, right here, one person fails. What do you have to lose? Fight this thing, and we'll come back and discuss it. It is not what we real, we don't know. But the handcuff and handcuff negotiation, by declaring a petition that people have signed, is not the right way to do it. First, no. You ready to start?
Stephanie Bell, 14 Shepherd Drive. His question about the LUPA process, we asked, I was under the impression from weeks down in this application that going through the LUPA, you get more money. As opposed to what you bring them. Oh, I didn't know if you guys say that to me, so I thought we could question, I didn't hear that. So I didn't double check. Because that would probably be why you should process, right?
Yeah, but essentially, the way I see it, and you can correct me if I'm stepping in, it's by not going out to referendum, you get a higher price.
Yeah, you get to negotiate, now just keep in mind, it's only been 3%, right? So, to see what they come in at is up in the air, right? So that, goes back to the.
Study that you did, you had said this was only for what's existing, so did this calculate all the approved buildings that are going up, that are not up yet?
No, it did not, it just included.
I think what concerns me is that once you add all that to the infrastructure, that you pretty much made it clear to us, does need quite a bit of improvements, and going forward, it's not if, it's when. So the council can raise our rates if you have, so sewer lines, that you mentioned, that the low end, $3 per mile in replacement cost. If you had something like that happen, you all up here on council can raise our rates as much as you want, correct?
Well, probably be a emergency appropriation or something like that happens, so.
What I'm saying is there a limit on rates that you can just raise that was repairs. You got like American Water Treatment, New Jersey Board of Public Utilities monitors how much they can raise us. Monitors how much we're hurting. Well, it's good to have that you guys. Oh, you're interrupting.
Excuse me, you need to meet.
I'm just talking to you, sit down.
Also, basically, is there, the council can raise their spending that they want. It was my question.
The council says it's clear, have the water and sewer rates, however, we have a plan in place for the year.
You stop this guy from getting to the and on his feet when he's not coming up. Sit down.
Sure, can you maybe leave the position and take the place for
I want to be here for the rest of the meeting, disrupt the meeting, unfortunately, some irate residents. That's all.
Everybody get on with the meeting.
It's a control, man. Please. Please.
The biggest thing I would really like to my question is that New Jersey water, there's control over it. I know you have a plan, but we don't know in 5, 10 years, all this new development, what's going to happen to the lines. You're talking millions of dollars that could be needed to make necessary repairs. That bill will go to taxpayers, and there's no control over whoever's sitting up here on council, whether it's you or anyone. It's in your hands how much you raise us, and nobody can stop you from doing that. So make those repairs, and it makes sense, so how to make those repairs, obviously, we're making money for taxpayers. But I just want to point that out, that if we have a system that's already not looking great, we're gonna get all this building, because none of this had any of that infrastructure on it. Being out of that, we have the potential for having to do some major repairs down the road, and that money's gonna fall on us. And whoever's sitting up here elected is going to have the ability to raise our rates whatever they want. And our rates, one of the residents literally just said this past year, his rates went up so much. You guys are charging it, so. And there's no major repairs being used, So imagine when that does happen, it's going to happen. My only thing I would point out is that you all are in control of that, and there's no stopping how much you raise us, where as opposed to a company like American Water, there's control, there's predictability, they can't raise us so much. But it's not entirely true what I'm referring to, what our spouse is speaking of.
Well, right there.
Because we can't. We can't. We're responsible for all of this. And 3,000 customers, and then you're adding on the building on it, and so. Financially, good for us.
Quick question for the board.
Typically, that in what if properties, or just not yet, I'm just curious as to studies with the Board of Education, because I was at that meeting, fortunately. Things missed. Into that education, I'll say. They had a demographic, and when they did their demographics, they included the what ifs, right? Because it's responsible. That's a responsible thing to do, right? We're gonna say, we have this much room for our students, and when you build these buildings and structures, we will be at max capacity, we can't add more than 5 students, right? It was, again, what we like to say, hypothetical, but what they did was, they did their due diligence and said, this is where we're at now, and this is where we have a feeling based on what's going on between glassworks being built and other infrastructure, this is where we're gonna be in 3 years, in 5 years, and in 10 years, right? They laid it out, they had a third party who had nothing to do, anything to do that. I just find it to be a little irresponsible not to add that in. That's what I wanted to say. And then my other question has nothing to actually with the actual water. The people, you guys who did your consultants, my question I guess today is there anyone that we have in-house that could do something like that? Is it possible that we don't have to hire someone to do stuff like that? Or are there ways that we're able to utilize our readiness, people that we have, like our staff, to do certain things?
No, this is very specialized. And we don't have any engineers or financial advisors and staff.
Well, the state statute requires us to procure a third party.
Was there a bidding process for this? Did this go for bid to see this for the lease?
So the RFP for financial advisor goes out every year. So whoever's successful, already gets it. I was not here when the initial procurement was done, so I can't speak to how, I don't know how the process happens, but for financial advisor, we do that every year.
Thank you.
I should move on the petition. So the petition will really decide. Process once is with them. Like, I find it to the truck, in the job.
We cannot.
Right. But. Fund them? Yeah, broker them, right?
Maybe.
And referee, maybe. And referee will decide. I will second. Yes, so. Yes, I agree with boss. So when if the voters will say you do not sell, you can do the motion. You can also, right? Yeah, but it is open. And the also the hundred will be sale. I understand that the overall will be, they will keep us, they will pay spend purchase. So the fire price will be fire rates of one. Because, like,
So, we, are going to raise your rates every year, right? 6 names. Again, and it needs to be done because costs have salaries, insurance, pension, these costs provide every year. No, no, it's staying constant. If we now rates every year, cost. Rightfully so, everything that's the law. What are the points? Yeah. We got this, they're the state. We are, so if we want to, or whatever, next year, but like, think we are, the 68% is pretty much spot. I think tomorrow, we're going to cost 15%, you don't think for it. Guess what? There is no check and balance.
The check salads is your chills. And if next people will do all the balance what will on the points will not just jump. But with the corporation, we might statement what the corporation needs profit, reports, CEO, who
I don't know. The bank paid for it. And now,
yeah, that in general, because corporation and you there, and you also want to be elected again, and so on. Corporation doesn't care, and maybe they will buy these, spend money, increase rates, but will have someone else. There's no guarantee that they will do this. And my main statement is that these 5 points, the first point that we are in this tier 1, tier 2, they cannot fix it. Whatever they do, it's still with the same problem. So, what the solution?
I'm not gonna deny it, but then, okay, and John, the last question, on these slide, it was 2.7 and sewage 0.9 and total 3.6. How would they do? That's what I think. That's the process per year to start over the budget of plus.
Oh, so that it's something is missing.
Yes, what it is, it's an average over those 10 years.
Yeah, but it was going.
Anyone else?
Mayor, Mike, do you know how much they do for three, the last one? Okay. You should.
Anyone else? That's it. Motion to close the public question.
Motion.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed?
Motion passed.
Resolution 25-08-03. Resolution promulgating conditions have been documented for the sanitary utility system based on submission and acceptance of the utility analysis. Evaluation of long-term impact on residents, the Borough of Matawan. Have a motion.
Mayor, I'll make that motion. Reiterate that this is for price exploration only, to go through, take the next step.
Second. And clerk, roll call, please.
Councilperson Gunn?
Yes.
Councilperson Silas?
Yes.
Councilperson Russell?
Yes.
Councilperson Reynolds?
Yes.
Councilperson Ross? Motion passed.
Yeah, 25, yeah.
Okay, so before we consider gentlemen, and us. It's resolution 25-08-08, authorizing the borough engineer to take the necessary steps to cover advertising and accept bids for solid waste and recycling materials collection service contract. Could I have a motion?
Second.
Madam Clerk, roll call please. Yes.
So in our agenda packet, we have this price down for TNM, right?
Yes.
Sorry.
Okay, and what, so being that that's not typically of the public knowledge, so this is for 17,160, but we're paying to get up to this for the contract?
The amount not to exceed that, yes.
Okay, but my question is, did the bid specs change that much from the original contract?
Well, this guy haven't been developed yet, but they actually do change. In fact, 5 years ago, it changed quite a bit. This is a statute, policy. It's not like a typical bid statute would be on the whole project. This is, there's a, it's administrative code that has specific requirements. And actually, so this price that we are, proposing on is actually less than what we spent the last 5 years. So, we don't anticipate as many changes as in the past, but we have to go through administrative code to determine that. And the borough also has, an option to make changes within the program itself.
So, I guess my question is this something out of?
I think that you.
Well, I mean, the engineer typically put that seal, the document, the bids out. So it's something that I would work with the engineer on, certainly, but this is typically a process that the engineer has to sign off on. So,
I understand this now, but is it something that we're going to cost effectiveness that we would save on if we were to do it?
We would just put a seal.
Well, you can just, you know, parking lot really, or would that be a savings, how do we track that? I mean, engineers have.
It's very part of the typical process, and you use different towns too, it's not unusual, I know it's very strange that not every person did it, or like, the engineer does the bid specs, but it's a very typical process. Because it is quite done and administrative and nuanced and.
I mean, there are DEP regulations that are updated from time to time. So, you know, then I guess if your question is, would I work on this? Cost savings that way, and theoretically it's possible, but I don't really know all that goes into this. So, I would definitely. I don't know all the rules that have, you know, I don't know, pastors that we use. A lot of it, some of it, I don't know, 5 years. If we were to look at what exactly constituted, oh, yeah, that. It starts at that. It could be possible to rework it, but the engineer at the end of the day was comfortable with what's going. I'm not sure if I'm really answering your question. But it really, I think, questions for the engineer in terms of, you know, what constitutes the cost expenditure and why it's, you know, necessary under these circumstances when people want to go into the project. Because I don't really know all the answers, I don't know that one. The way that I'm engineered is from, you know, small streets and routes and so.
So it's not to exceed size limits.
Yeah, so. Cases.
Yeah.
We got a first and a second.
Councilperson Gunn?
Yes.
Councilperson Silas?
So you're voting on this.
250808.
You're voting. Yeah.
Yes.
Councilperson Russell? Councilperson Reynolds? Councilperson Ross? Motion passed.
Madam Clerk, roll call please.
Councilperson Gunn?
Yes.
Councilperson Silas?
Yes.
Councilperson Russell? Councilperson Reynolds?
And they're both residents of that one.
One is, aggregating resident, one is, they both, in their association with the Historic Preservation Society, he helps various people in the borough. Since the Historical Society has received a grant to them, an electronic scanner, they offered to do it. I had some hesitation just as their own to do it, so, I mentioned it, and we decided that the best way to protect the firm and to also work with them on this was to appoint them, volunteer archivists, so that they are, should they happen to see something that's confidential, they will be bound by.
Councilperson Reynolds?
Yes.
Councilperson Ross? Motion passed.
Professional process, documents, present qualification, process. Second. Madam Clerk, roll call please.
Councilperson Gunn?
Yes.
Councilperson Silas?
Yes.
Councilperson Russell?
Yes.
Councilperson Reynolds?
Yes.
Councilperson Ross? Motion passed.
Favor? Opposed?
Motion passed.
Voice 18. Have a motion? Second. All in favor? Opposed?
Motion passed.
Control the persons from interrupting my time. Thank you. Okay. Let's go. I want to raise a serious concern about the borough's ongoing misuse of the consent agenda. And Jonathan, you should be paying attention to this one. By design, a consent agenda is supposed to cover routine, non-controversial items such as liquor license renewals or minutes. Instead, Matawan is consistently used to bundle major decisions like contract reports, professional services, agreements, full-time hiring, and even employee benefit changes into a single block vote. In fact, the June 17th meeting had 9 of those in the consent agenda. You guys follow Robert's Rules of Order, I hope. These are not routine matters. They involve significant taxpayer dollars, staffing commitments, and long-term policy decisions that should be addressed openly. What makes this even more troubling is that the agendas provide only a resolution number and title with no supporting detail or backup documentation, and we have asked, made public in advance. Residents are just given 5 minutes to speak, which makes it nearly impossible to prepare questions or comments on substantive matters, especially when 10 or more major resolutions are buried in one consent agenda. This lack of disclosure and discussion undermines transparency and meaningful participation. Now, Mr. Cummer, I ask, why is the borough attorney not advising against this practice? Your duty is to ensure proper procedure, safeguard against legal and financial risks, and uphold government principles. Allowing major financial commitments and personal actions to be hidden inside a block vote not only reduces accountability, but also creates procedural vulnerabilities for the borough. So to restore trust, I urge the borough, 1, limit consent agendas to truly routine matters. 2, provide full backup documents for all resolutions in advance, because you're keeping us in the blind. 3, ensure contracts, hiring, and benefit changes are placed on the regular agenda, not consent agenda, for open discussion. Matawan residents deserve nothing less than full transparency and how their government makes important decisions, and you have violated consent agenda. I found 9, I'm gonna go through every single meeting, and you guys are hiding everything in the consent agenda. You don't hire people in the consent agenda, you do. This borough does. All right, the next item I'd like to bring up, I watch the council meetings when I can attend, because time to time, my hobby is surgery performing. So, I watched the last council meeting and I noticed the approval of a resolution to hire big deal. However, during the discussion, it was stated that he's already a yearly employee. If that's the case, why would a new resolution to hire him be required? Additionally, why was his compensation increased by $2,000 over the course of the year? And then my last point is, I've been involved now, I was involved, I stopped because members of the majority came after my children in 2019 during the election, mayor election, so I stayed away. Now I can. What I see the problem here in this borough is, 1, everything is hidden. You can't use consent agenda like that, Mr. Coleman, you know that. You follow Robert's Rules of Order?
Yes, we follow our system.
Well, you don't follow them correctly.
I'll respond to you.
Okay. My last statement is, my observation is, this town is controlled by Council President Gunn, okay? It is controlled by Council President Gunn, and everyone is in lock and step. Interrupt me all the time. I'm not going to continue to say, but what Matawan needs is gun control with 2 ends, and that's going to happen.
Thank you.
Do you want to respond?
Yeah, first of all, I'm not in disagreement that the consent agenda should be for matters that have consent. My legal opinion is not necessarily that they're routine matters and that they shouldn't be required. But you'll see throughout the state of New Jersey and your organization is that broad swaths of resolutions, appointing professionals, hiring people are put together in the consent agenda. However, where I believe that we need to do a better job is that if there are resolutions that don't necessarily have the support of the council, that they should not be lumped in with the consent agenda.
That's not how Roberts works. It's not what the council works. Robert's Rules of Order are very specific. It's not that, it's the council wants. It's what Robert's Rules of Order.
So the way that it's been understood in New Jersey municipal government, how it applies is for consent agenda at the same time. If the members of the government body consent on a particular group of resolutions, and we have to be here until 11 o'clock at night, save time, because for the public, the public is invited to speak on agenda items. All of the resolutions that are put together, it's not like ordinances where there's a separate public hearing for every single resolution. So the public has given as much of an opportunity to express their opinion on resolutions that are in the agenda or what they
Not having it, just give us the resolution. And the resolution item. They will not look at it as anything else. You know, in any backup information, we asked last year, how are we supposed to figure out what that resolution is? It's just a number and it's like, that's all you give us.
But that's a separate issue, that what I would advise everybody to do, and I think we established what it is to potentially that the mayor say, or the consent agenda, or prior to the agenda, or have if anybody has a particular resolution that they think they have a consent agenda, that it should be done that way. I think it's more order than anything else, just like the clerk follows the rule. If there's, let's say there's X 5 where that shouldn't be in the consent agenda. The consent agenda is that what we saw for the remaining resolutions that are on the consent agenda. So therefore, I believe that is best practice and consistent with Robert's rules of order that I should have the right request the mayor. Fire commission, the body to request that the resolution be taken to the consent agenda and go to several. Then you get a clean vote. For instance, I think 08 was 4-5 to 1 or 5-0. Right, so that has a different roll vote than the rest of the consent agenda. So, reminding that was the way it's supposed to be done. And you know, I think it's the practice going forward. Do the consent agenda should be, shouldn't just be for any type of resolution. It should be for certain types of resolutions.
My other question to you is, legally, is there anything that's prevented the majority council from giving us more than just a resolution number and then the title of the resolution? Otherwise, we know nothing about these resolutions. We're kept in the dark. Is there anything legally that's preventing them from doing it?
And there's certainly nothing legally, I mean, I'm looking at public media, I'm in public meetings, I have, I was trying to do their best to get, information out there, and it's certainly something that we can get back and work on. I thought, just deal with the clerk and the rest of the staff to prepare this stuff and figure out the about it.
It would be really helpful, otherwise these meetings will go to 1 AM. I know you guys will be 5 minutes, but I'll just security questions of every single person in the audience. You're hiding things in consent agenda, and I think you all know.
I would, certainly disagree that that's.
Well, I sit down, you want me to name the name,
No, I
the
mean,
9 ones from June 17th?
I think that, you made your point, sir.
Thank you. We need gun control too. Most of the stuff that's disconnected will be here. Looks to be nice. Stuff is but that's where I can find something. However, the reason why I'm happy is because I wanted to do something positive about Madeline. And it's taken 22 years for that to happen, but better late than never. Democrats have been running it the slow and restore Madeline. And I think that's a very rare influence. And I'm sure the Republicans probably agree on one to restore the town. And this is because you're going to pay the highest taxes in the county, that happens for a reason. Which brings me to my main point. 26 Main Street, which is commonly known as the Blue House. It is regarded by the state to be the finest example of French Empire architecture. And for those of you who've been in Cape May, you know it's quite an accomplishment. So we owe that to Andy Stabor, despite overwhelming opposition from the people who live here, saved that house from the wrecking ball. Does not have landmark status, and that was always an option he could have pursued. And he also has a partner, which unfortunately isn't in much contact with him. But, and then I finish. I don't think I've ever seen this house look so beautiful. And he's a landscaper, and to put bushes, flowers, that I've never seen in front of that building. And even restore the gates. So, town intending to do anything to acknowledge that, because we do have plaques in this town honoring other people. And I think it would be appropriate to do something for him as well. And even if it requires contribution from people who live here, I for one would be a contributor. Much, you know, I think a lot of them. Something. And although I would hope I would get some kind of an answer from somebody at some point, I have to say something. That's an abomination. That's not nice. Okay, so you wanna display a corporate lake. Okay, but you don't wanna display a picture of a historical lake. Okay, the lake that was built to thank the returning troops from World War I and to honor those that didn't return. Okay, maybe I'm wrong. I attended a few meetings late. But that, then you need to find a nice picture of Lake Matawan. I'm sure you can find it before it fills in. And so is this one, just FYI. Anybody have anything to say about the first? Would you like to read your spot? Just something. Something. We have a very nice sign in front of one of our parks. Some women like it deserved it. And I'll leave it at that. Thank you for listening.
Yeah, Joe Castro, Telegraph. Gentleman just alluded to the lake up there, just a side. Lake Matawan, it's disappeared. You'll notice it's disappeared. As a kid, I used to jump off the railroad tracks at Central Village, that's a principal lake. Now it's all silted in. In the next 20 years, there'll be no lake Matawan. It will be silted in. Lake Lefferts, the same thing, it's silting in. It's coming all the way down to the second lake. Suggestion and recommendation. We're gonna drain Lake Lefferts soon to redo the dam. Let me finish, Mr. Mayor, I didn't finish. Encourage the county who had bought the Beaming Farm on 516, Dean Beaming was a friend of mine. That's now a county park. If they're gonna develop it, approach the county park system and get the county, if they wanna have recreation up there, that's all silted in. Get the county to come in and dredge that out so it can be a recreation, it'll save Lake Lefferts. But Lake Lefferts will be gone in approximately 25 or 30 years because it's silting in as a result of the Lake Bridge development that's there on 516. It all comes down to silting up Lake Matawan and Lake Lefferts. They're gonna be gone. You better consider that as a future project when you're gonna use the lakes.
So I am, state legislators for the resident, there was another resident that asked about. Two, if there's any contamination, once you expose it, you're liable to pay.
The Imperial Oil, I think, was the one up in Marlboro, was responsible for that. There's a fund that's associated with that. They required, like, about 40.
I didn't hear what you said. But I'm going to
funding from DEP or funding, there's one salary, another separate funding that they have to. Very low, so one responsible for the mitigation. Just a suggestion, Mr. Chair. Two observations and then a question. Number one. Fierro Avenue, Middlesex Road, Highway 34, intersection of the traffic light stuff. If you're coming north on 34, which most people from Marlboro out of Matawan do because they want to avoid Route 9 traffic, so they come 79, Main Street, Route 34, communities working in the morning, they come up, they disregard the no turn red light. They just zoom right through there. People coming out of Fierro Avenue trying to cross, we take our lives in our hands trying to do that. At night, coming home, we live right off of Middlesex Road, and you know they speed up Middlesex Road. They come on down to beat Route 9 from the traffic. They come to Middlesex Road in the intersection with Route 34. Even the bottom, they're coming right through red lights. When I turn out of Route Fierro Avenue onto Route 34 and come down south, I take my life in my hands because they're zooming out. Put police there, make a lot of tickets. Believe me, you will, and it's dangerous, so it's going to get hit hard and bad. Second observation. New Jersey natural gas has been destroying the roads in that just redid Crescent Place. How many millions of dollars did it cost to redo those streets? 3.3 million. Okay, well, yes, great. Mill Road, you know, beautiful paved job. There, New Jersey natural gas stripped it up. Atlantic Avenue, it's a blend. My question is, and right now Lakeside Drive, we're doing the same thing, digging up the street. Are they gonna restore the street to the condition it was in before they dug it up?
I know Mill Road, we just talked to my borough administrator, Smith Alton, but they are over a week from Mill Road.
I mean, completely repaving.
Yes, they are.
Okay, how about Lakeside Drive?
Lakeside Drive, or I believe the work that they're doing crimping, and they are going to be restoring it to essentially where they do the trenching.
No, how much do they have to put for a bond in this town?
Exactly.
Well, take their bond and have them redo the streets, because we, the taxpayers, pay millions of dollars to do those streets, and the gas company comes in and digs it up, and it's garbage.
No, they have to restore it to the previous condition, correct?
Yeah, but it's, believe me, they've done the work, it's not to restore to the condition it was in.
And usually, work is utility companies, our engineers, has all the work done again. So, and then there's no fight for it. So ideally, it's.
Okay, please, because they just get away. Now, third question. I don't know what the tax assessor is here. I pulled the casino. So my question is this, I pulled to determine my tax assessment of my home. And I was told that my area in the Greenlawn Village area, the assessment goes up more each year than other sections of Matawan. Why are different sections of Matawan increases different than the area I'm in? The answer I get, you know, highly regarded. Why must I pay a higher assessment each year than other people in town? Why is it not fair, the same percentage increase all over town the same? Would that not be fair?
So the way that the rolling assessment program demonstration works, that we're required to be a part of, it takes the real market value estimates of the neighborhood. So your neighborhood is directly correlated to the sales in your neighborhood, just like someone else's. So that's how the assessment gets determined.
Is that fair and equitable?
I don't know of a more fair way than to take specific neighborhoods increases or decreases.
Do I live in Matawan Borough?
Yes.
Matawan Borough is only one entity. So what's the difference? Matawan Borough, you assess them all at the same rate, 0.5, 0.4, whatever it is. It's the same all over. Why does a different area have to be different?
Because
I don't want to hear about
those real estate firms, those people are crooks. All right. The state of New Jersey to change the rules on the way they assess properties. I mean, we have right in town, we got an assembly, we was part of the state legislature. Grab them someday and say, hey, look, you need to change this assessment.
They initiated the pilot program.
You know, well, let's get out of the pilot program.
Which they could.
Well, why not? Well, how did we get into it to begin with?
Years ago.
Don't know.
I voted, I wasn't here, I was told that.
Could you research that? Could you research that? And is there an escape clause that gets us out of that? Because it's.
I'll get into that. I'll look into it and I'll.
All right, the gentleman who just preceded me said, we have got the highest per capita tax rate in Monmouth County. That's no lie.
Why else is this?
So actually, for the clarification, for the 2024 DCA data, which is the most recent available data for property taxes in the county. For general, for just the municipal, for the general, it's
A four-letter unit defines H-I-G-H.
Thank you. And then, you should be able to get it.
yeah, that would be.
2 years ago, I told you about the water, the sewer assessment, you never called me back. So maybe for the tax assessor to call me, it's ludicrous. No one ever calls back. The mayor doesn't call back, gun lady doesn't call back, you don't call back. What's the alternative? You don't communicate with us as taxpayers. That's the way I'm here frustrated tonight, and many other people. You don't communicate. There's no newspaper anymore. How do you communicate? That's our problem. We don't know what's going on. Many people here spoke to me about transparency. There's no transparency because we don't know what's going on. There are 9,500 people in this town. I bet you 9,000 of them, they don't have a clue what's going on because you don't communicate. Thank you. Anyone else?
All in favor? Aye. Opposed?
Motion passed.
And motion to adjourn. Second. All in favor? Opposed?
Motion adjourned. Motion passed.
Thank you, everyone. Good night.
Hello.
Which one? Three?
No, this is.
This one? Oh, three. Okay, thanks. All right, what's on tonight? All right.